During that relationship, like I said, stuff like wasn't great. I ended up going back to the hospital one more time before we broke up. Um, Same stuff, in and out in a week. Was trying to get help, but also was like actively trying to get out of there. So I didn't stay there that long. Um, and when I got out, I still wasn't treating stuff right and wasn't taking my medicine and wasn't seeing the follow up therapist that they had, been gracious enough to get for me. And so my relationship blew up, and like when that happened, I blew up, and I did a lot of shit. Um, like I did drugs for the first time in my life. I was doing like just crazy, risky stuff sexually, and hanging around a lot of friends, like just putting myself in a lot of dangerous situations for no real reason, like other than the thrill and being able to like not feel terrible about my breakup by forcing myself to feel all these other artificial emotions, which, as terrible as it sounds, sustained me for like a while. I started working like crazy hours, like 60 hours a week, for like minimal amounts of money for jobs that like I'm way overqualified for. Um, I generally was a nut. Um, that's probably that period probably lasted. I'm gonna say like a year. That like I just totally was lost in my bipolar, and the worst of the symptoms, the risky behavior, the hypersexuality, the suicidal ideation, the depression. I was in manic states. I was in depressive states. I was in mixed states. I had it all, and I just spiraled for a long time, um, wallowing in a neighborhood that I shouldn't have even been in, where probably I could have ended up dead. So by this time, I was like 26. Sorry about the shadows. I was 26. Um, I moved out of where I was into a slightly healthier environment, um, but around like I had roommates instead of living by myself, which was really helpful because like I said before, I had massive social problems, so I don't have many friends. I didn't hang out with many people. I spent mostly all of my time with my ex. When she was gone, I tried to fill that void with like strangers that I was sleeping with and doing drugs with and all sorts of stuff. But like the best part about moving in with roommates was that I had sort of like a support group. They didn't like become like my pseudo therapist or anything like that, but just having them around and just having someone to talk to and like not being by myself to ruminate about stuff like really helped me a lot. And that made me stable enough, or my environment became stable enough that I was able to focus on going back to therapy and seeing a psychiatrist again and getting back on medication. I had been sort of turned off by the risperidone that they had prescribed me, um, but I knew that I needed help, and it probably was going to take more than just being talked to. I needed chemical intervention. I needed medication. By this time, I had insurance thanks to the wonderful um, affordable Affordable Care Act. Had insurance for the first time in my life that was affordable, that took care of like outpatient services like the first place that I went to take advantage of that. It was pretty much a pill mill. Um, they took me off the risperidone because by then they had found out I was giving like young men breasts and stuff like that, even though I wasn't a teenager. But for they switched me from that to Seroquel, which was the devil. It did make me 100% like better in terms of like my behavior and psychotic shit and all of that. But like I couldn't stay awake to save my life. Every morning, it was the damnedest struggle to get out of bed. I'd be able to have just enough energy to get to work and complete my shift. I'd get home and I'd go straight to sleep. I slept my life away on Seroquel. It was terrible. I just felt groggy all the time. Around this time, I sort of felt a friend hooked me up with like a really good job that put me in a financial stable situation. Um, Being in that job, I began to value myself a lot more and realize that like I was capable of a lot more than just my other jobs were being a dishwasher and working at a movie theater. I realized I was like much more capable than that. Working at this company which did importing, and I was doing logistics and accounting and all sorts of crazy stuff I never knew um, that I could do. Um, but in that process, gaining a bit more value for myself, I sought out better mental health care and started going to a better facility, to the therapists and the psychiatrists that I see now, who have their flaws, which I'll talk about in other videos, but um, put me on. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was on medication that consistently kept me stable, even though I have breakthrough symptoms, and I have a lot of just issues with my behavior that are caused by the learned behavior that I gained when like I was sick all the time. But they put me on Latuda and Wellbutrin and gabapentin, which is like a diabetic nerve pain medicine, but they claim it helps with anxiety because they're too afraid to give me Xanax because I guess they think I'm black and I'm gonna sell it on the streets. But yeah, for the first time in my life, I was financially stable and more or less mentally stable, and that's kind of where I'm at now. Just getting to that sort of plateau, this like decent place in my life, has taken like a long time, and it's really only a fairly recent development. I have all sorts of like serious issues, as you can imagine from hearing my story, um, that I'm working on. That partially inspired me to make this channel because I think it will help me to talk through some of my stuff and also help my self-worth by potentially helping um, people who struggle with stuff like this, because like I know that doctors can help a lot, but sometimes just hearing that an average everyday person, much like yourself, is suffering from the same issue, like helps immensely, which is why I made this video and put all this information out about myself. So that's where I'm at. I'm 32. Unfortunately, I feel like I'm just starting my life now, because I spent so many years unmedicated and being sick. It's almost like all of that is almost wasted time. So, yeah. So, thanks for listening to my story. Um, the sun is totally up. Like, I've definitely been editing and, like, making this video um, as the day broke. So, I hope that you appreciate that. But of course, I guess it's kind of it goes without saying that if you experience issues like what I experienced at the level that I experienced, you need to like go and get some help and like not be too prideful to do so. And if you're like me and you like have the ability to like outwit a lot of the overworked doctors in those inpatient facilities to get out, like don't, because if I had just been totally open and honest and committed to the process like the first time I went to the hospital, like it would have saved me so much trouble and like so much pain, you know. I really genuinely hope that this like helps someone, because you know putting all this information out is like embarrassing and potentially dangerous if an employer were to find it, or or a family member. But I have been I've given you absolute candor here. Let me know in the comments about your experiences and maybe questions you might have. That's if like enough people even end up watching this video, because it'll probably be like 25 people. But do that. Subscribe and hit the bell, because I plan to put out more videos. They're not all just going to be mental health videos. My three biggest passions are mental health, like politics, especially like global politics, and professional wrestling, which is like a really is an odd trio of interest to have. And you know, Star Trek Picard is out, and Discovery is about to come out, and the last season of Agents of Shield is about to come out, which is like my favorite show like ever. So I'll try and like bring a wealth of content your way if you guys want it, and when I do videos like this, I will try to be as exposed as I was in this video. I can't speak. Comes from not sleeping. I'm probably manic now because you can see that I've like become obsessed enough to make this really long video and edit all these clips as poorly as I did edit it, like as the sun came up, which is strange. But I'm okay, I promise. Taking my meds, I'm reasonably okay. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Please be safe and be well, and don't be afraid to ask for help.